Holman, by a show of hands, how many people have had an attempted theft of their TRX? In this room, how many people? Show of hands.
I thought it was stolen.
No, it was not.
Just your pride?
It was just my pride.
And your sense of security in your home?
All those things were broken, yes.
Yeah. How about your wife's knowing side-eyed glance if I told you so?
I don't think she told me that my TRX is going to be stolen.
Yeah, but she said you have an obnoxious truck that's going to
attract unwanted
attention.
Yes, that may have happened.
Here's what I want to know. You can go through it. You posted the photos, whatever.
Oh, by the way, just blowing it off.
You're welcome. By the way, we talked about this where I said several times your proximity to the freeway system and where you are leaves your TRX mighty vulnerable.
Yeah, I'm not in a secure neighborhood. There are a lot of ways to get my truck to Mexico really quick.
Really quick. So there's that. But I wanted to know if you had heard your truck start up in the middle of the night, what you would have done. Because it's loud.
It's very loud. I mean, I would have ran out there and called 911.
Birds would have flown out of trees at 3 a.m. or whatever time this happened.
Yeah, I can tell you, it happened at 6:24 a.m. Why don't we hold this story about lightnings? I could tell you this. Yesterday morning, I walk out, and the truck is there, but it's damaged. But the truck was still there. And I thought, I feel violated, but it was a miracle that it was still there.
Yes.
I am truly thankful, which I will explain why later. But the truck is still there. I still have it in my possession. Someone wanted it and wanted it bad, but they didn't get it. And just 2 weeks ago, had I not taken some action, and I've talked about it on this show, the truck would have been stolen.
Gone.
Can
we do this show as if your truck is gone?
Why do you wish hate upon me?
I don't.
Why do you want it to be gone?
I'm experimenting with your human emotion and your human condition.
It's funny that you say that because my wife, Brandy, she says, "Oh, this is going to be so good for the podcast."
That's kind of funny.
I mean, so it's 25 years of radio, like I'd be standing on my underwear on a street corner, and it was awful for me, but good for the listeners, right? Doing all that kind of like wacky morning radio stuff. And anytime that I would get a traffic ticket or whatever, it was always, oh, this sucks now, but this will be good on the air later.
Sure.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me Sunday morning. It was awful for me, but I figured maybe it would be good for you. Because
it's not good for me. I helped you get that truck. I don't want to see it.
No, you, the listeners.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I don't want to see your truck ripped from your hands. I mean, all I could think of is when you sent me the photos is, oh, great. Now we got to hear is, if I had a Cybertruck, this never would have happened because nobody wants one.
No, I didn't have any thoughts about
if I had a Raptor R.
No, I didn't have any of those thoughts.
Okay.
I'm dead serious.
Were you more like, damn, my truck's got a broken window?
There was some of that, but mostly it was, oh my God, it was so close to being stolen.
Well, and the fact that...
I have so much work into that thing.
Well, and the fact that the reason it wasn't stolen was literally just done 2 weeks ago.
We'll get into that.
All right. On this episode of the Truck Show podcast, we've got journalist Tim Esterdahl, who will be joining us on the phone. And then we also, a little video got dropped this week. And it's funny because last week you were talking about Dave Sparks and his Cybertruck with tracks.
Yeah.
And literally, we said in the last episode how funny we haven't heard about the Badger in a long time. Well, lo and behold, here it is.
Yep.
And a cringy video was released. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit because it's fascinating. We won't belabor the point, but it's worth noting because, well, I don't know, 478 of you sent me the video. I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it.
We've seen it.
All right, well, we also have news, and there is a ton of it this week. So before we start the show, we have to thank Nissan, our presenting sponsor. So if you're in the market for a new truck, head on over to your local Nissan dealership where you can take a gander over at the midsize Frontier or the half-ton Nissan Titan or Titan XD. The Titans have the industry's best 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty. And I've been driving that Frontier for a couple months now. And
you might want to get it cleaned.
That thing.
It's a little muddy still, I got to be honest.
It's raining right now.
Oh, okay.
Nature will clean it.
Nature's car wash?
Nature's car wash happening right now with our atmospheric river returning to Southern California. Yeah. So it has been fantastic, though. I've driven that thing all over. You borrowed it and took it out to the desert.
I had a great time.
And it's a great little truck. So head on down to your local Nissan dealer, or you can go to nissanusa.com where you can build and price. Nissan has supported the Truck Show podcast since the very beginning. We would love for you to support Nissan in return. So if you're looking for a new truck, make sure to put them on your list.
And if you guys plan to tow heavy this summer, you want the maximum continuous power output. You don't want your intake air temps to climb, causing a derate. When temps climb, your engine pulls power when you need it the most. That's why you need a Banks intercooler. Banks intercoolers are available for most pre-2017 trucks, Ram, GM, Ford. Increase boost air density for higher continuous power output and better fuel economy with a Banks intercooler and high-flow boost tubes. Everything about their intercooler systems is designed bigger and better than any other competitor. Enter your year, make, and model to find yours at bankspower.com.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Whoa, whoa.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
So, Holman, my question for you is...
Whether we're going to start calling you truckless again.
Oh, man. No, please don't. I don't want to live through
What
that
if it
again.
was a shady listener that stalked you and decided to take advantage of knowing
There are a lot of interesting...
theories?
Well, theories, yeah, because the wife says, could it be a listener? Could it have been someone on the Facebook groups, right? Ram 1500 TRX is on there a lot. Could it have been a Banks guy? Could it have been like, there's so many possibilities, but really, I don't think so. I think there are groups because, take me out of the equation. TRX is one of the most stolen vehicles, right? I know we talked about Kias, but like, they're just disappearing all over the place. I want to ask you a question. How would you have felt if I had sent you a photograph of a piece of broken glass in my driveway Sunday morning?
I already felt bad that you had a truck with broken glass.
But imagine that there was nothing there. Like,
no, I would have raged. It would
So
have
for
been
those
not cool.
For those of you that have had stolen vehicles,
I honestly think thieves should have body parts chopped off like the good old days, so you knew they were a thief. Start taking fingers and ears and stuff. That'll stop that stuff real quick.
I wonder if, like, do the cartels do that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. They'll steal from you, but if you steal from them, you're going to be in a 55-gallon acid bucket on a bridge somewhere somewhere.
Right. So it's about 6:40 a.m. and the wife gets up to take our puppy out for a little walk and just in the front yard, let her pee. And so the wife goes out there and she realized that my car cover had been folded up and over, so exposing the tailgate and the back window. And she looks over and goes, that's weird. The wind must have caught it last night. And then she looks closer and the back window, because I have a foot, square 12-inch by 12-inch sliding glass portion in the middle of the Ram window.
Would it have been better to have a padlock and cable underneath your car cover to help it from coming off so easily?
I have that.
Did they cut the car cover?
No. It's in the center section. It goes between the wheels. And you're able to fold up half of it and to kind of fold it over. So the cable is still connected. She sees it, and then she walks a few feet over and looks to our neighbor's yard, and there's the glass in the yard. She immediately goes inside, wakes me up, gets some clothes on. I walk right outside. It's obvious that someone had broken in an attempt to steal it, not just getting some stuff inside. And I went in, first took some photographs of the glass of the truck. It looks like they may have stood on the driver's side left wheel, and then pop the glass right in the center with who knows what they use, that tool that
it's
is
got a carbide
spring-loaded
tip on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's one thing I will say, and I have said this to the manufacturers over and over again. Stop putting in rear windows that open. I don't want it. I don't want a sliding rear window in my truck, period. In the past, I've actually taken the factory slider out and put in a solid glass window because it's too easy to break into trucks. Like, stop doing that.
Well, so I spent most of yesterday doing more research on the topic, and if they don't have the sliding glass, then they go in through the rear driver's side or passenger side because it's easier to get in for whatever reason through that. So they would have broken the glass regardless. So I run inside, I get the key fob, I come back out, I unlock the truck, and I was kind of delighted that it's still like it was still reacting to my key fob. I open the driver's door and I look in, and there's a wire harness hanging out where the light switch is. To the left of the steering wheel, Holman, you've got that the rotary headlight switch.
It's just a panel that pops out.
Exactly. It just pops right out. You can just do it with your hands.
And then behind the dash is basically open, so you can reach your hand in there.
And they did.
And if you know what you're grabbing, there's a particular harness that you can get your hand on.
That's exactly what. So they pulled this harness. This harness was laying out as well. It was a big green harness with all these cables. And it was just laying there. So they had apparently tried to connect up to this harness, and it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work, guys, is because I had installed an IGLA device just 2 freaking weeks ago. And this is the part that gives me chills. The way they're getting in is they connect to the body control module somehow. They get on the CAN bus. All these cars and trucks have CAN bus. And they're able to put it in this key pairing mode. And they basically tell the vehicle, "Oh, I'm a dealership, and the customer lost his key. I'm creating a new key for this vehicle." They create this new key, and they can turn it on and just drive it right away, super fast. I think they were in my driveway for 4 minutes or less. And because I installed this IGLA device,
by the way, you have cameras, right?
I do. We'll get to that in a second.
Or were they pointed at your truck?
Yes. Yeah. They can't make the key. They probably freak out that it's not working, and they bounce, right? They bail.
Did you see a second vehicle take that other person away?
So here's the thing with the cameras. I have multiple cameras around the house. Luckily, the previous owner of the house had installed them. They're all in great locations, and I kind of moved them a little bit so they have all great shots. My wife goes in. She pulls up the camera system. She looks at it. There's 4 cameras. 3 cameras are working. The 4th one is not. It's black. She rewinds. She starts at midnight and goes all the way through. And this one is black the whole time. I'm like, what in the world? Why is camera 4 out? It's the one that literally points at the truck.
Did somebody come earlier and put something over the camera?
I thought so. I went up. I looked at the camera. This is after I put the truck kind of back together and the whole thing. I got my ladder up. I inspected the wires. I looked at the camera. There was no black spray paint over the lens. Nothing like that. There was nobody who tried to defeat the camera. I go inside, and where the RCA connections come into the back of the DVR box, the camera control center, I'm like, what? I unplug camera 4, plug it back in, right back on. It just needed to be rebooted.
So you have to be looking at your cameras more often.
Yeah, apparently.
I mean, I look at my stuff probably 5-6 times a week just to make sure.
I've learned my lesson.
That sucks.
I literally just unplugged.
But what about the other ones? You have other ones pointing at the street.
So
did you see a second car or anything?
This is why I know it happened at 6:24 a.m. Because one of the other cameras, you've been in my house, and I have a camera that faces towards the front yard, and then the TRX is over to the side. And there's a kind of a part of the house that makes a round. You can't see around the corner. But when they either got in or got out, you know how my amber DRLs light up? I could see the amber DRLs glow off the block wall. So that's how I knew what time it was happening.
So you think they powered the truck up to accessory or on mode while they were doing their thing?
Something. Or when he got out.
Oh, just because the lights flash?
Yes. When you get in or out, the lights would flash. I don't know if that's because of my taser that I have in there or not. But by the way, they didn't touch the taser. At 6:24 on the tape, I could see this DRL light up the wall. And then I see a black car whiz through the frame. And so I think that's when he freaked. He got out the driver's door and ran and got in the car, and they just bailed.
Probably.
They had been there too long.
What kind of car was it?
I can't. It looked like a Chevy Trax or something. You can't really tell. I went frame by frame. The problem is shooting through some like a miniature palm tree, so I can see the vehicle, but I can't tell what it is. But you can just see it whiz off, and it was right after the lights flash. So the lights flash, he jumps in the car, and they bounce. They went down the street. So I was able to start the truck, and it started. I went through the IGLA has you put in your passcode, right, which you control with steering wheel controls and on the dashboard. And everyone is custom, and it started right up. And I thought, wow, that's a freaking miracle. And then I turned it off and I cleaned up all the glass because there was glass everywhere. Just basically glass dust. Those little tiny shards everywhere. Pulled the car cover off, got in the truck, and I drove it to work. Because it had no window. I didn't want to sit there all day with no window and have them come back.
Go back, because you have a dash cam, but I can't remember if yours is only forward-looking or back.
Yeah.
Did it record anything? Because I know my dash cam records all sorts of stuff I don't care about.
So it's forward-facing only.
Okay.
and it replaces the mirror assembly on the Ram truck.
Yep.
And the car cover was still on the cab. So they were in darkness, like they had, or they were surrounded in this cocoon, right?
So it was pre-dawn.
It was just dawn. It was just dawn. So it's shooting nothing. It's shooting a car cover through the windshield. You can't see squat. Now, there might be sound. I didn't go back to listen for sound.
I would listen. I'd be curious to hear any communication that they have or anything
but
like that.
But it goes on because it's connected to the, it gets its power from the rearview mirror circuit. I think the ignition has to be on for that to go. So
no, because there should be a battery. No,
no, there's no battery. No, it's only running with the cars. It's basically, taping accidents and stuff in front of you while you're driving.
But I have like on mine set up where it's pulling power from a constant on fuse. So if the car's been off for a few days and I close the door and it thinks there's an impact, it's recording in the garage or whatever.
It might. I'll have to check.
Yeah,
it might.
You'll have to double check on that.
I'll go back and look. Unfortunately, it's at work now and I'm here at the studio.
Now, for me, I'm almost thinking of like they have those Uber taxi ones, same company as my camera, that face back toward the driver.
Right.
Now I'm kind of thinking like, maybe I put one of those in there so that I can see backwards too.
That would have been a good idea. So I immediately went on and spoke to people on the forums and stuff like that. And the guys in Texas were saying that dudes are hopping in and flipping off the cameras, like brazenly, showing with their face, no mask, flipping off the cameras.
They're probably coming over from the other side of the border. Like, they don't care.
Yeah.
But at least it would let you understand how it's happening or post it or who knows.
This is also weird. So this happens on a Sunday morning. Saturday morning, a day prior, I'm on the phone with John from Igla, and he's talking me through some of the features, and because we're going to have him on in a couple weeks.
Yep. And by the way, we were going to have him on before this happened because it was something that you came to me and you booked this guy. I'd never heard of Igla before. And you're like, oh, no, Laura, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then doing the research, I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. And then so you went and had it done and you booked him. It's interesting. So we won't go into too much detail, but it's basically a device that intercepts between where they're trying to access the vehicle and then the computer itself.
Correct.
Right? There's a disconnect. And you showed me how it works. And so, like, I still have some concerns about it. And it'd be interesting to hear more. Like, you showed me every time you get in, there's like a 5 to 10 second sequence of ABB, A, up, down, up, down. So if you ever play with a Nintendo controller, you basically do the same thing every single time you get in your vehicle. So to me, like, that's a little bit on the annoying side.
Although I did something I didn't tell you.
The key fob.
They have a key fob.
I understand.
And they recommend if you don't have to use the key fob, it's safer to not use the key fob. But it's a proximity base, just like your regular key fob. If I wanted to hang that on my belt or on the key itself.
But can somebody take that signal and figure it out?
No. They said that one is not being tracked. They're not looking for that particular RF frequency range. They're only looking for the factory RAM key fob.
So that to me helps a little bit. The other thing I didn't like is there's very few installers nationwide. I think there's only 2 or 3 here in SoCal, period. And they won't tell you as the owner where the module is hidden in the vehicle, which I get why. They're doing it to be super secure. This is supposed to be one of the best things that you can get for your vehicle, blah, 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 blah. But what do you do when you go to sell it? What do you do when you go to the dealer? What do you do when you have valets? What do you do? Like, you're not going to teach them how to do all the stuff.
It's funny that you ask, because Saturday morning, I asked John that specific question. I said, how do I put this into bypass mode? Because what I didn't explain a couple episodes when I had this put in is I wasn't there at work. My truck was at Banks, and I had a lunch meeting. And I asked Steven in my office, I'm like, hey, could you let this guy John in from Igla? He's going to install this thing for a couple hours. If he needs anything, he needs a soda, water, bathroom, help him out. And because John had told me I can't watch him put it in.
Right.
So I had never gotten the tutorial. Like when you buy a new car and they go like, all right, Mr. Smith, here's how you roll up and down the windows and do cruise control. He had never given me those instructions. So I had this little card, and I have a thing in my wallet, like a little credit card with instructions.
And they only print that card once, right?
Yes.
Because it's unique to you. Or the code that is on there, and that's it.
That's correct.
That's the only one they do.
Correct. So he gave it to me, and I photographed it. So it's in my phone, and I have one in my wallet right now. I actually give it to you. And it's got some instructions on it. It's kind of cool.
So I wouldn't put that in your wallet. I would take a picture of that.
I did.
And put it locked in your phone images and not have this. I would go put this in your safe.
Yeah, it's a good idea. So I get John on the phone. He's walking me through some of this stuff, and he explains, I want to bring it into the Ram dealer, get it oil changed,
Right.
things like that. There is a service mode that will turn it off, and it will automatically turn itself back on.
Well, there's two modes. There's a service and a transport mode, right?
Correct. And they say don't use the transport mode.
Because it lasts 30 days instead of 2 days or something like that.
That's correct. Whereas the service mode will turn itself back on if you go 50 miles an hour. Immediately, the next time you turn it off, it arms itself. So someone really thought this out. But
Now,
you're right.
where are they based, though? Is this a Russian company?
This is like Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And there's a really weird story behind how they're getting imported. The company is called Author, Author.
So that's the other
Alarms.
thing that's kind of
But then
interesting.
this is IGLA, IGLA, and no one knows what it stands for. Like, there's some...
Well, and that's like the Revelco stuff out of, I think they're Russian, and like they talk a good game, but there's a whole lot of drawbacks to that system as well, including hacking up your wiring harness. And this doesn't require that, we think, but we don't know because you couldn't watch the install.
What you get when you buy this box, when you buy this unit, you literally get a little tiny cardboard box. And inside you get this card.
Yep.
And 2 cards, you get a sticker and a serial number and the 2 key fobs. That's it. You get no wiring harness. You get nothing. You never see the module.
So that's the thing that bothers me.
It bothers me
a
too.
DIY guy who wants to know everything that's happening on my vehicle, or to tell the next owner, "Hey, this is what it has." And what happens if that thing goes bad?
I've been in the car.
Does it have
stereo
active
industry.
safety?
No, like banks, no.
Right.
I don't think it does.
So those are the questions I have. Like, I get that it saved you from getting your truck stolen, which is awesome. It worked exactly as advertised. You're going to go out and you're going to profess how great it is. Me, I'm thinking of all the other ways it doesn't work. Like, I'm glad it served its purpose.
But I brought all those things up, and he goes, "You've got my." He'd say, "You've got my cell phone."
Yeah.
I'm in West Covina. He's 5 minutes from Banks, and he's 30 minutes from my house. So
what happens if he
gets hit
by a bus and nobody, like, what do you do?
I call some other IGLA dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I literally don't know because I don't know where it is. I would have to.
Does he have anyone who works for him? Is there any records somewhere?
I would have to put it in transport mode.
Are people going to find him and steal his records and then find out the address of all the cars he's installed? And then
I
go
don't
steal?
know, dude. It's all sketchy because look, he's in every freaking TRX in SoCal.
I know. He's a good marketer. I get it. The product worked as advertised, but
there's a lot of buts.
There's a lot of buts.
But dude,
it saved you from losing your TRX.
If I would have come out Sunday morning to no truck,
I know.
I would have lost my freaking mind.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest.
And you would have put your deposit on the Cybertruck.
What? I wouldn't have. No, I've been so hurt I would not have.
What would you have replaced it with?
A Frontier.
Really?
Yeah, I swear to God, Frontier.
Wow.
I'm not saying that because Nissan's sponsor. I'm saying because I would be like, because I have whiplash in car buying. I'll go from something radical to something
you just want something
conservative,
practical that you drive every day and not have to worry about.
Right to the Nissan dealer.
All right.
But
Like that.
enough about that. This is super spooky. How this all went down. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Our timeline, us talking about it, you and me, the fact that you got it just in time, and then all of a sudden, what if there's some dude and the IGLA guy is like tipping people off?
I
They're
know.
Like, go break into cars. That way they feel good about
The thing is, I know, but check it out. I never gave John my address.
They have it on your registration. It's in your glove box.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
I'm just listen.
That's true.
I'm not saying he is. I'm sure he's a great guy with a great business. But in my mind,
conspiracy theories.
I
you know. So here's my next step. People are like, "Well, what are you going to do?" I am
a
totally
moat with alligators and fire.
So right now, the truck is on its way over to Ellis, Ram, Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, all their brands. It's going over there for the rear glass. The rear glass is 2 weeks out. Eder, my service manager
Edder's
over there,
rad, by the way.
Edder's rad.
Yep.
He already ordered the glass, but it's still 2 weeks. There's nothing he can do about it. It's the same as all the Ram 1500s. It's not like there's nothing special about my TRX glass. So he's got to get that in. At first, they wanted my Progressive insurance because it's a corporate vehicle.
Yep.
Right. They wanted to put me with Safe Light, and I'm like, I don't want Safe Light. I want factory Mopar glass.
No, Safe Light does factory. You just have to request.
Okay, well,
then
we'll
they're
make
fine.
sure that happens. That as of this recording, that hasn't happened yet. And it's going over there, and I want to make sure that they look at the wiring.
Then you got to take it over to Brian at SoCal Tint, right?
I got to get the tint redone. Exactly. Yeah. So it's good. It's all easy. It's first world
It's nice that you have your
problems.
truck, but there's a bunch of other stuff now, headaches
sure.
that you got to deal with.
But here's what I started doing Sunday right after it happened.
Posting on Instagram.
Nope. What's my next move? And my next move is an alarm system. I have to, because all of my Mini Cooper, my Acura, my Toyota pickup truck, the Rock Crusher dually, every single vehicle I've owned has had either a Viper or a CompuStar alarm in it. This is the first one that hasn't, and I kind of paid the price. So they busted the window. It's silent. Nothing happens. It's a factory RAM Mopar alarm. It might.
Well, it's an immobilizer. It's not an alarm.
That's all it is.
It might
correct.
honk
It's an immobilizer. And so it didn't do anything, right? And so they're free to get in, and they know that.
Yeah.
If that had squealed and started screeching at them, and I'm now in the process of...
If that were my house and that happened, I'd be running out with a Remington 870 to greet them in my driveway.
I don't own a firearm.
I'm
That's
just
the
saying.
thing. So what I think I'm going to do is right now I'm vacillating between Viper and CompuStar, because everyone seems
now you
to
have
pair
3 key fobs on your keyring.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Wow.
But whatever. If it keeps the truck in my driveway, then that's fine. I'll deal with that. Everyone's saying to go with the CompuStar with this drone mobile, which is a GPS service you pay for. But as soon as they steal it, they can't find it. It's hidden, and you can go. It's going down the 405 freeway at 90 miles an hour, and you can call the highway patrol, and they can track it.
So it's like LoJack.
It's just like LoJack. Exactly.
But how? I'm sure they know how to defeat that too.
I mean, but the thing is, how much time do they have? It's in your front yard.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to defeat it while it's in your front yard because it's tracking them.
Yeah.
So if you can act quickly enough, in theory, you could find it.
Or you could go on Amazon and you could get a waterproof little AirTag container and throw an AirTag.
Here's the problem with that. They know when the AirTag is following them because there'll be an alert on their cell phone.
Good. Get out of the car then.
Well, they'll go looking for it.
My AirTag is behind bolts. You have to have specialized bolts to undo some stuff that's in my Jeep to get to my AirTag.
That's not a bad idea.
You will have to stop and pull over and move some heavy stuff around and then unbolt some stuff to get down to where mine is.
And it doesn't kill the range?
No. I have the...
Show me afterwards.
The AirTag on mine, the icon, I'll show you on my phone right now. So if I say track my find my phone, right? So I go to find mine on my Apple thing.
Yep, I see it.
Right. I go to items. What's the logo for the 392?
Oh, I got to stretch right over a race car.
A little red race car.
Yep.
And it's so sad because every time I leave home or I go in a parking spot, it says,
"You've left your race car.
Your race
behind.
car has been left behind." And if you, I have it so the sound is off because it'll play a sound. And so I have it so the sound is off so somebody doesn't, but a lot of people take the AirTag out and they just cut the speaker wire.
Right.
And then they put it in their car. So it's a cheaper way to do it because everybody has iPhones. And I can tell you, where does it say the location is right now?
Right here.
Right here.
Yep.
So it's not.
I've seen that.
If nothing else,
yeah,
it's an option for somebody who can't afford an expensive, alarm system or GPS tracker. It's pretty effective.
So right now, again, I'm looking at Viper because they've got a suite, and I'm really familiar with Viper, but I see a lot of recommendations for the CompuStar. If you guys I haven't put it in as of this recording, so if you have some experience with either the Viper or the CompuStar with the drone mobile, please do send me a note, lightning@truckshowpodcast.com or at LBC Lightning on the gram. I am very interested and will be installing an alarm soon, and I'm going to do my best to connect it to a police siren because when they break the glass, I want them to hear a siren.
657-205-6105 if you've got some advice for Lightning on how to keep his TRX on his side of the sidewalk.
Dude, all these cars for all these years, I've never had one
violated?
I've never had one violated like this. I've had bumped into a parking lot or stuff, but I've never had someone intentionally break in to steal it.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of you have. This is just me, and maybe I've lived in safe neighborhoods or whatever. Although, dude, I've worked
you live in a safe neighborhood.
But I've worked in some sketchy-ass neighborhoods.
The only issue is that you just have proximity to the freeway system.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's probably the worst part about it, because your neighborhood's nice. You live in a great spot. It's not a crime-ridden place at all. It's a nice middle-class, upscale neighborhood.
We've had a couple catalytic converters stolen, things like that.
Yeah, but
and I have
that's
cat
just
covers on mine. Yeah.
Fortunately, that's just how it is in living life in SoCal. This is where the SoCal pompousness sucks, guys.
So that happened.
So that happened. So that happened. There was a trend that went down. We look back, now we frown. Please don't happen again. So that happened. So that happened.
I kind of feel like it didn't happen, though.
No, it did.
but it didn't. You have a truck still.
You know what it was? Like, They pulled my pants down, but they didn't violate me. Like, I'm still embarrassed, right? I'm standing there naked.
Yeah.
But it didn't penetrate me.
Wow. All right, moving right along. Speaking of that, why don't we go to our next guest, who we'll shortly have on the
Wow.
phone.
You think Tim will like this
I
intro?
don't think that segue is going to be acceptable to him, but it is
right.
our show, so.
Okay, Tim Esterdahl. Let's call him up.
Hello, you got me?
Is this one Mr. Tim Esterdahl of Pickup Truck Talk and SUV Talk?
Yes.
Or perhaps pickup truck plus SUV talk?
Or that too, yes?
Yeah, yes, that one.
It is Lightning and Home on the Truck Show Podcast. How you doing?
Good, how you guys doing?
We are fantastic. We have so much to talk to you about. But first, we've got to play the intro that everyone gets. Well, everyone gets their own intro, but yours is Pull Up a Stool.
Pull up a stool and share. Pull up a stool and share a story. Pull up a stool and share. How about you pull up a stool and share with us?
So from time to time on the Truck Show Podcast, we like to have some of our journalist friends on the show. You may remember Tim from our episode where we talked about the Cybertruck, because he was having a conversation with other journalist friend of ours, Mark Williams, about it. And we had talked about a story that kind of Mark hinted at on the show. And we thought, hey, it'd be cool to have Tim on and kind of talk about the landscape of the truck and SUV world right now, because there's a lot of stuff going on.
Indeed. Thanks for having me on. It is crazy what's going on in the marketplace.
So let's start with kind of your background, where you came from, and kind of how you got to where you are today, so that any of our listeners who haven't heard from you or of you kind of know what you're all about.
Sure. I'm actually the automotive space now over a decade. Did some freelance work for you back in the day with Motor Trend, Truck Trend, and changed over. I grew up kind of in Michigan. Was a GM, worked at GM as the engineering side. So I've always been around trucks and got a degree in journalism, and just kind of fell into the job, as it were. We all had really crazy stories how we got in the business. I answered a Craigslist ad to run 2 different Toyota websites, and I just kind of parlayed into where I am today.
Hold on a second. Don't gloss over that, Tim. You did not answer a Craigslist ad. Seriously?
Seriously, yeah.
What did it say?
For a good time call.
Right. No, I mean, so at the time I was running a web design kind of business. I wasn't very satisfied with it. And I was looking around, and Craigslist was big back then. I mean, I'm talking 12, 14 years ago now. And it said looking for an editor to run 2 websites, 2 Toyota truck websites, one Toyota headquarters and one Tacoma headquarters. And being my relationship in Michigan, growing up around trucks and always being around trucks and a journalism degree, I figured, what the hell, and took a shot at it. And that's what it turned into. I probably didn't fly to Michigan and I did the auto show circuit and met people and shook hands and kissed babies and pitched stories. And
that's funny. Usually I shake babies and kiss hands. I may have that backwards.
All right. Yeah, sure. you may be that backward. Anyway.
So Tim and I have been on the auto manufacturer media circuit together for a pretty long time, and we will see each other from time to time on different events. And it just seems like this last few years, I mean, I remember going back maybe sometime 2010, 11, 12, where it was sort of the doldrums. There wasn't a lot of stuff going on. And now everybody wants to get into the SUV space, the kind of more off-roady space. And then the truck wars are still going on. And we thought, people hit maybe 1,000 pound-feet of torque and they'll chill out. Yeah, no. And then there was a time when the midsize truck market didn't exist. And now not only does the midsize truck market have basically all new entries now, but now the small truck space is starting to get hot with obviously the Maverick and the Santa Cruz. So what do you attribute all of the growth in truck and excitement of trucks for? And that's not even talking about the EVs like Cybertruck and Rivian and some of the other players.
I think it comes down to 2 things. I think, first of all, when I was growing up in the 1980s, 90s, I mean, if you got 10 miles in the truck going downhill and stiff wind, you were doing really damn good. And now you get to something like the Maverick and a front-wheel drive hybrid, these 40 miles per gallon. I mean, okay, so there's no gasoline penalty anymore driving a truck like there used to be. And then you look at people's lifestyles and this next generation and even our generation, how much Netflix can you watch? You want to get outside and do something. And to be able to do that, you have to have a truck. I mean, pickup truck talk took off big time during COVID. because what could you do during COVID? You can go outside camping, go outside off-roading, hunting, whatever, but you couldn't go inside a mall anymore. You couldn't go inside a store anymore. And so, the views just took off a lot and people's interest took off a lot. And I've always said there's no better utilitarian kind of vehicle than a pickup truck. If you want to haul a family, great. If you want to haul nothing in your life, great. If you should drive around and commute to work, great. If you want to tow stuff, do whatever. It's basically the one vehicle that's out there anymore that you can do whatever you decide to do in your life with. You don't have to make compromises. The full-size sedan was always a compromise. Compact sedans, compromise. And now you're looking at stuff that's, hey, no compromise. You look at SUVs, look at the baby boomer market, and they're all getting older. And last thing they want to do is bend down and get an SUV. Well, hell, I'm getting closer to 50 than I am 40. Last thing I want to do is bend down into a sedan anymore. I want to sit up higher. I want to see more, and I want to be a little more comfortable, more room in the headroom, more room, shoulder room. I want a bigger cabin. I've owned a full size truck now for 3 years, and it's hard to beat it.
Holman's often said that the truck is the modern day station wagon. It sounds like you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I've said it's like the Swiss Army knife of vehicles too. It's the same idea that you can do whatever you choose to do is fine. And like you said, I know truck owners that never haul or tow anything besides golf clubs or a few bags of mulch here and there. And they love their trucks.
How dare you call out Lightning in his TRX like that?
It's funny that I actually just hauled mulch about right before Christmas.
But you did it in a Banks truck, right? You didn't do it in yours.
I did it in mine.
I don't believe you.
I did it in mine, and then I vacuumed all the mulch out.
I want to see the tailgate down for evidence of mulch back there.
I took a photo of it because I knew you'd call me out.
Of course.
I literally did. I've been hauling stuff in it lately. I have been actually using it like a truck, not just hauling air.
I'm confused about this vacuuming thing you did.
Because I'm a clean freak with it, and I'm trying to keep it new. So what happened is...
You should have just left your Tato open and driven on the freeway.
So it wasn't mulch.
Here we go.
It wasn't mulch. It was that bark.
Here we go.
No. It was that bark stuff. So the wife puts bark all around, where the plants are. So it's like we don't need mulch for... I don't know. It's the bark. It's brown.
Ground cover for your planters.
Ground cover, whatever it's called. Yes,
sure.
And one of the bags split open, and there's stuff all over the bed.
Wait a minute. You had it in bags? So you're trying to say like the guy at Home Depot put a bucket load of mulch in the back and you did it just like the people wearing cowboy hats. Instead, you had a bunch of bags and one just accidentally ripped open.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's how most people go and get mulch. It's in bags, or you get the bark. It's in bags.
Congratulations on winning the truck merit badge for hauling mulch.
Wasn't asking for a merit badge. I've already got underwater basketry. Like, that's all the merit badge you need.
So, Tim, how do you guys use your trucks in Nebraska?
And do you vacuum out whatever is remaining back there so it looks clean the next day?
Vacuum, no. I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I'll tell it anyway.
Good.
Just because it's funny. I tend to go deer hunting in Nebraska because what else do you do in the wet fall and winter? It's boring, so you go deer hunting. So one year, I had a GMC Sierra AT4 I was deer hunting with, and it was the sand kind of tan color. And I shot a deer off the tailgate because that's what we do. Needed a gun rest, shot the deer. And I drove the truck over, and it had that what's GMC called? Multi-Pro, right? So the Chevy's Multiplex, whatever the damn thing is. So it folds all the way down, and it was helpful because I had gutted the deer, and it was a heavy deer. And I summoned every ounce of energy I could in manhood and lifted the deer up, the head and the hooves and everything, and used the tailgate in my advantage to put it into the bed. And so I drive home, and in Nebraska, we have chronic wasting disease. So we need the deer to a check station, have the deer checked, make sure it's healthy. You're not going to eat meat that's going to, cause you harm. Well, it turns out that the station wasn't open yet. I shot the deer at 7:00 in the morning. They didn't get there at 8:00. So I parked the truck outside my garage, and I'm sitting inside my garage, got my knives, got my table. I'm getting ready to carve the deer up and process it. And my neighbors keep driving by really slowly. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Why are they driving by really slowly? And so I go around the back of the truck and I look, and it looks like some Halloween situation. I didn't realize that deer blood would actually come through the seals of the multi-flex tailgate and come down like blood trails. So I took it over and I got the deer done, and they picked it up as a press loan, and they took it back to Denver as they do. And I get a phone call like a week later, and the press manager, he says, hey, maybe next time, can you please, go ahead and power wash out the back of that bed? And I said, oh gosh, sure. No problem. I said, I typically don't. I typically, use the truck for truck and whatever. He goes, yeah. He goes, they actually picked that truck up and put it on transport, shipped it back to their place, and had a hell of a time convincing the transport driver that it was deer blood, not human blood. Wow. And I was like, oh, whoops. And then I later on I netted a truck and I power washed all of that thing, make sure clean. I netted deer in the back of it, cleaned up. And like a month later, I get a phone call from the guy in Utah, and he actually complained to the press feed guy and goes, did Esterdahl have this last? Because I had deer blood in the back of the truck. And I was like, you're full of it. It was 30 degrees in the morning. I spent like $9 a power wash. I cleaned the hell out of that damn thing. There was no blood left. And like, how is my reputation now known as the guy who's living deer blood in the back of the truck? I'm like, what?
I mean, you should hear the whispers on the media bus when we go on trips.
How did you not clean it out the first time? You sent it back like with blood. That's insane. Can you imagine if you'd done that in California? You'd have SWAT at your house.
Well, that's why I don't live in California. But but I talked to the press meet guys about it many times, and they're just like, and they tell me they power wash it anyways. They clean it up. So I'm like, well, okay, if you're gonna clean it up, I've talked to manufacturers that tell me don't wash it, we'll take care of it. Okay, so I'd kind of gone along with that viewpoint. I hadn't really thought about it before until that moment when, well, maybe I made the wrong decision. I need to think about that. But yeah, it was quite the situation. I will tell you that I sent a photo of that bed in to our friend Chad Bolch, who's now Chevy Communications truck manager. And I had the team mixed up. He's a GMC, he was Chevy. Anyways, he sent it in, and he goes, he loved it. And I did it, and I went back to the house, and Jill, who's my managing editor, she was like, after me to do a video on this, the hunt. And I was like, I'm not doing a video on the hunt. Well, what the hell? It's not that it interests you, because you have got to do a video on this hunt. So I went and I have the channel is we do websites, posts, and we do videos and that kind of stuff. And so I went and did a video on it. It was NSFW they do in these days, whatever. And apparently I found out later on is that the GM engineers, they posted an internal message board, and they freaking loved that story. Because I am using a truck for being a truck. Now, granted, it was an $80,000 half-ton truck, and I actually was sitting inside the cabin screwing around on Facebook at 5 in the morning letting the engine run.
I would be more mad about all the deer blood on the front seats more than the bed.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, I'd love to tell you this fabulous story, but I looked up off Facebook and the deer's looking at me. So I was going to take the shot across the hood, but I learned my lesson. You can't fire your rifle across the hood, because if you're firing from the driver's side, the projectile from the casing falls on the hood and leaves a nice little mark in the hood because it burns through the paint. So you got to be cautious.
Yeah, so don't do that.
I walked around the back of the tailgate. I walked around the tailgate, fired off, and
there you go.
sat towards the dirt.
Note to self.
You these things. This is experience talking here.
Yeah, note to self, when I am a communications manager at GM Ford or Ram, do not loan a truck to Tim Esterdahl.
What I'm hearing here is I can see it on Lightning's face is his enthusiasm, and he's ready to take that next level into truckdom. And he is going to take his TRX with some sort of projectile firing implement, and he's going to get blood all over the back of that thing.
And then, I'm going to hunt. It's going to be your blood, is what it's
Except the blood is going to be in bags that he gets probably from like getting steaks at Home Depot or at Costco or something, and he's just going to cut a bag so it leaks out some steak blood in the bag.
I don't want blood in my truck. I got to be honest with you.
So speaking of press cars, what have you been in lately? The ones that you're allowed, that manufacturers still send you.
They're allowed to talk to you, yeah. Let's see. Lately, I was just in the Hyundai Santa Cruz, actually talking about a vehicle that's unique.
Is that unique polite or unique interesting or unique good?
I would say it's unique polite.
Okay.
It's definitely a different customer, right? So it's a more luxury compact car. We can call it trucklet. We'll call it a trucklet. It's more unique. The price point's a little bit higher than I expected for a compact truck. The styling is very, very stylish, and it's interesting.
What was the price point of the one that you had?
I think it was a 40.
Oh my God!
It was was crazy, but it was it was whatever bell and whistle you could add to the damn thing.
Yeah, but you can still get a pretty nice off-road package on a real body on frame midsize for around that price. So I'm surprised that it's that high.
But these are selling really well, aren't they?
Well, Mavericks too. I mean, we just talked about how the Maverick price went up to 25 base for 2024, something like that. So
I think they can make the Maverick whatever price they want. I think people will buy it.
Yeah,
because you look at the areas, like downtown LA, for example, where you guys are at. I mean, I wouldn't drive a 1-ton dually down there, right? But if you needed a good vehicle for around town and have chance to carry your mulch and bags back from the Home Depot, the Lightning is a good option.
See what you did there?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. It's like, but yeah, it's the market's so interesting. I had the Ford Bronco Sport Heritage Edition for $46,000, and this yellow with white
yellow
top.
and white, with white wheels.
And I tell you, when I drove around town, it was just split down the line. Yeah. Men hated it. Women loved it.
I had
it's fascinating.
A family friend. She was all excited that she bought herself a Bronco. She had a Honda Pilot, and her kids are of driving age. And she said, "I'm so happy. I finally got my Bronco. I gave my Pilot to my son, who's now 16. It's the perfect car for high school. And I figure since I'm not hauling kids around everywhere, I'm going to get what I want." And I was like, "Oh, that's great. Good for you." And she went and got the Heritage Edition that had, the two-tone with the white. And
it just looks girly, doesn't it?
It's not even girly. I don't know. I just don't think especially on the Sport, it doesn't resonate. I mean, the big Bronco, which is what she got, actually has some retro lines on it, so you can kind of see it. But it's just kind of like, you paid more for that? I feel like that should be the base model. Like that should just come that way. But I know they're pulling at, tugging on your heartstrings.
I think that's the biggest thing that's changed over the years is not the base level trucks or the base level things. I think those have been about the same. We get Apple CarPlay now or Android Auto when we did before. We get nice, the different styling in the seats or something like that. I think what's really changed is the special editions and the high end stuff, the high end luxury editions, like the new Ram 1500 Tungsten, $100,000, 450 Platinum, $100,000. It's you look at the GMC Sierra Denali Ultimate half ton, $100,000.
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy to me. I remember interviewing a guy years ago who bought a GMC Canyon Denali, the first GMC Canyon Denali ever. They came out with, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And I even interviewed him because I couldn't understand why people would actually buy that truck in that high price point when you could buy a full size for, $10,000 more or whatever at that price point and go for it, whatever. And the guy was very clear. He was a retired Marine who was living in Pennsylvania, who wanted to go turkey hunting with his friends. Didn't want to drive a truck down the trail, wanted a smaller truck. And he was pissed off at that time because he couldn't buy more features for that truck. They didn't offer it.
Yeah, I thought that truck looked nice. It had like the Denali, looks to it. But I felt like they didn't do some things like make the interior nicer, add more sound deadening, things that you would expect from a Denali. So it was sort of like a Denali in looks. But I agree that if you're going to spend that kind of money, you should have all the features too. And I'm somebody that has always advocated for features should be separate from size class. Like there's no reason where you need to have, the small truck doesn't have the same features as the big truck. I don't think that's it at all. I think you should be able to buy whatever size vehicle and then overlay whatever features you want on it. So I could definitely see that guy's point. It's my lifestyle. I want a smaller truck. I don't need a big truck, but I want to have all the features and the luxury. I just wish that they would, on that generation, they would have done a little bit more to refine it because the interior was still pretty junky on those, and the outside was really nice looking, but I just felt like it fell flat in a few areas.
But Tim, what's the psychographic of the person who's buying the top level truck? So you've got the baller who's got the Lamborghini or the Ferrari or the Porsche, and then he has the top level truck. That's the 1%. Get rid of them. Who is all the rest that are buying all the GMC Denali Ultimates, which are $100,000, which GMC can't make enough of right now? Like it's one of their number one sellers. Is it a young guy, like a .com millionaire? Is it a Texas oil tycoon? Like who is this dude that's spending $100,000 on these top level trucks, whether it be the midsize or the 3/4 1-tons?
It's a couple different people. It's the first person that's going to be a retiree who wants to buy one truck for the rest of his life. He wants all the bells and whistles. His kids are out of college. His house paid off. He doesn't care about the payment. Doesn't care about the money. He has great credit. He's going to get 0% or 2% interest rates. My dad, when he retired from GM, bought a GMC Sierra Denali. And he bought the top trim level because that's what he wanted. You also have, like you said, business owners. Like that high level truck is the business owner's truck, right? It's the construction foreman's truck, not the construction guy's truck. And the reason that truck succeeds, and it's like, for example, my case is I can write that truck off as a business expense. So can that guy. So when you go to do taxes, you have to understand that if I'm going to spend $50,000 or $80,000 I'd much rather spend $80,000 on a truck than I would $50 if I'm going to go do taxes. I have a bigger write-off. I save more money in taxes. And so that's where you're seeing that difference. It's why a couple of years ago, we saw a big growth in leasing in full-size trucks in the luxury segment, because leasing is very consistent with the wealthy who treat the automotive payment as a monthly business expense and not look at it as something long-term they're going to pay off. They'll never pay it off. They don't care about paying it off. They save more on taxes than they would ever paying it off. And so they look at things that way. And so that's that customer. I know a lot of ranchers around me who drive. I swear to God, I was about a year ago, I was out driving and I saw a guy putting down fertilizer. He had a F-250 King Ranch with a hookup, and he's doing a spreader in his fields. And I was shocked because, Ford does commercials and whatever commercials, but this real happened in real life. And I know why the guy that bought that truck. The guy bought the truck because he lives in that truck. That truck's cost more than his house does. He doesn't care. He spends more time in the truck than he does his house, and he gets to write the taxes off. He writes it all off in taxes. So Section 179 of the tax code got changed a couple years ago, and you can write off as much as you want the first year of ownership of a truck.
I may have taken advantage of such things.
Right?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I may have gotten a very expensive vehicle about a month and a half before I was laid off and turned it into a business vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, and from your viewpoint, your tax accountant's viewpoint, and my viewpoint as well, when I buy a truck every year. Taxes is part of the reason, but also business is a big part of the reason too. It makes good sense in my business to have a truck for a year and do videos and that kind of stuff on it. But I mean, my tax accountant said to me, she says, you need to spend more money on a truck when you buy it. Like, that's the conversation we had, was you're spending too little.
Oh, I've definitely had people with that. There, in fact, our friend Ben Palmer had ordered a 392
of 406
garage. 406 garage,
Yep.
and he canceled it. Or no, the dealership called and said, "Hey, your 392's in," and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know that I want to spend that much money," so they sold it to somebody else. And then Ben got with his accountant 2 weeks later, and he said, "You got to buy something. Your tax liabilities are too high."
She scolded him,
and so he called the dealer like, "Sorry, dude, it's gone." So he ended up buying, I think, a diesel Gladiator. But it's interesting how much of the truck market is driven by small business owners. And unfortunately, when I talk to my CPA, he's like, "Well, you can write it all off in 1 year. It's an option, but you have to show that it's a business vehicle. You need to have logs of what you." I said, "Actually, it is a business vehicle because every time I use it and I do all my fuel logs, I can show where I went, what I did." He goes, "Perfect, let's do it." So that's definitely helpful. Tim, you had mentioned earlier kind of like, how a lot of the vehicles are standard with CarPlay and Android Auto now, which I love because as a journalist, when you're driving something new every week, there's nothing more irritating than having to set the car up just to enjoy it for the week. And with the advent of CarPlay, it's just made everything so much easier to hop in whatever vehicle and have all the things you care about at your fingertips. Well, GM just made the announcement that all of their EVs are going away from Apple Play and Android Auto, and they will not be offering them. And eventually the ICE ones will as well, which I think is a huge mistake. I think customer sentiment is going to turn on them. And I really do think there'll be people who won't buy the vehicle because it doesn't have that feature.
Well, my viewpoint is we still don't know the real answer why GM's doing it. I read a new interview every other day that new reason why they're doing it.
It's data.
We don't want to do it because this or the collection or no.
Yeah.
It's going to mess with the EV charging setup.
Yeah, they're so full of crap.
We don't want to do it with this. So it's like every day there's new story from these people.
Yeah, they've spun it, but it's data.
Right. What kills me about the whole situation with that is if you look at who the electric vehicle buyer is, and currently it's early adopters. Early adopters are very tech savvy. They're very tech savvy people. It'd be one thing to give my farmer dude an AM FM stereo without Sirius XM driving around a 2-wheel drive truck. That'd be one thing. But to do that to an audience that is very tech focused, and they're going to use their phones on all the time anyways. And I think it's interesting is they're doing it in that segment. Like, do it in the work truck Canyon or work truck Colorado. Do it in that stuff. That stuff I can sort of see because whatever. But don't do it on an electric vehicle when your customer base is a very tech savvy customer base.
Holman, explain why you think it's about data, because I don't know that our audience understands the marketing behind it.
It's not maybe about data, it is about data. So when they have a third-party app on there, Apple or Google are taking all the data of where you go, what you do, what your preferences are, what your features are, And they want to control that whole ecosystem because they want to control you after the sale as well. And as we get into subscription models, which BMW has already tried overseas, for like, oh, your car you already paid for seat heaters, but we'll only turn them on with a subscription. Well, that didn't fly. And a bunch of people revolted and said, well, then we're not going to buy your cars because that's a ridiculous thing. I already bought the hardware. But what they call these software-defined vehicles is like the next generation of vehicle, where what they're doing is they're baking in all the features and you only have access to the ones you've paid for. And I think that's going to throw everybody for a loop because they're going to go like, well, what do you mean I have to pay $5 a month for HomeLink? And I have to pay $10 a month to have SiriusXM activated and then pay them for something. Or I have to have, oh, you want CarPlay? Well, we'll open that up for $20 a month. You want, heated seat? You want adaptive cruise control? Well, those are going to cost extra too because they want to continue. Here's the problem. If you go to a dealership, the majority of a dealership's profits come from the service department. With the advent of EVs, you're taking that from a regular service vehicle to a vehicle you may only see once a year. How do you backfill that revenue as a dealership or as a manufacturer when you're not seeing people? It's subscriptions and it's data. And it's how do they market to you? How do they sell your data to make money off of you? All of that kind of stuff. So it's a massive data play. They're going to license, I think, Google Maps and things like that. So it still has, to Tim's point, state-of-the-art maps and whatnot. But they're going to control that ecosystem in their car because with it being electronic, they know everything you're doing. They know where you're going. They know what your preferences are. They know what time of day you get coffee at Starbucks. It'll probably have AI that goes, oh, are you on your way to Starbucks? Would you like us to order your usual over Wi-Fi? Bing.
And they're going to get a piece of that sale from Starbucks.
I'm sure they'll get a kickback on it. Right. So that's what's happening. I don't think anybody's being transparent about it.
No, I agree. I think that if you go back in time, I think what opened Pandora's box in this is OnStar. OnStar's success for General Motors of post-sale revenue,
right,
created this whole ecosystem of post-sale revenue. And look at the Toyota is doing this now with remote start. You can't get a Tundra with remote start separately. You have to pay a subscription for remote start.
Well, it doesn't come on the key fob, right? It's on an app.
It comes on an app and a key fob, but they're going to take. So I've talked to Toyota a lot of times on this.
Yeah,
they're going to take away the option to do it on key fob.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it's only a key fob if you know the trick. Again, the lock, and hold lock to trick. And so, I mean,
ABBA, up, down.
Yeah. There's no remote start button on the key fob.
Right.
And I didn't know the trick until some viewers pointed out to me, and I was like, oh, well, I feel like a dumbass now, as you do. But yeah, so I mean, so you talk about BMW's thing, you talk about different things, but I mean, you're seeing all these manufacturers look at GM's OnStar success and going, look at that pile of money they make, the billions they make in OnStar. All they're doing is having somebody sit at a call center and answer phone calls. Yeah. I mean, the profit from that's insane. And all of them now are going, hey, why can't we make more money off that? Why can't we make more money off this? So all subscription stuff will take things away.
And now they don't even have to have a call center because everything will just be automated through apps and things like that. So
the AI as well.
I mean, all of it.
AI, yeah, sure.
I think it's crazy. Well, and then it's funny. Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody today who was talking about, well, how are you using AI? And I'm like, I don't. And they go, well, doesn't that make it easy to write stories? I'm like, no, I refuse to use it because I feel like it's cheating. It's taking the soul out of what you're doing. And I've had journalists who say, well, I use it, but then I rewrite it in my own voice and this, that, and the other. And that's fine, whatever. But like Sports Illustrated just got caught doing a whole AI thing. There's a couple automotive magazines that have moved to AI overseas in India and things like that. And it's becoming more and more apparent that authenticity and people who are actually subject matter experts are going to fade away as these quote unquote easier, more convenient technologies like AI take over and do the work. And it's kind of, honestly, it's kind of sad to see.
It is. I've used AI a few times, and it's interesting results you get. I mean, the best one I did was I might have had a little whiskey that night, and I was goofing around. And I put in AI. I said, I want you to write me a truck review based on President Biden's voice of a Chevy Silverado truck review. And then I thought, well, let me be fair about this. I did a truck review based on former President Trump's voice. And it was hilarious. I had such a good time laughing at those. It was like, I think Trump was like, this is the greatest truck in the U.S. history. And let me tell you, I know a thing or two about trucks. And then Biden's like, well, the blobbity blah the engine blah blah blah.
I mean, it's funny. We've done stuff on the show like that.
I was like, this is the best thing AI ever produced. Like, yeah. I literally I didn't want to get political. Everybody gets their butthurt about this stuff these days, and so I just said I read it off. I think I read it off in the live stream, and I canned it. I just deleted everything and just let it, because whatever. But I just was like, well, this is exactly how I see AI as just being a gigantic joke. So why not just make a big joke about it? But I've had it rewrite press releases, and it does a fairly terrible job. But the reality in our world is you have to rewrite press releases from time to time. You just do, just because the news is important, whatever. And you try to add your own little not spin, but details to it, add more stuff to the story. But sometimes a press release is just a press release. You got to rewrite it, and it sucks. And sometimes it's on the AI, and I'm like, well, this sucks worse, but maybe I clean up a little bit. And I always find that it takes me twice as long if I use AI. Like, it's not a time saver. It takes me twice because I have to double check everything because I don't trust it.
Well, let's just be honest. I mean, it probably writes stories better than some of our colleagues.
No comment.
No comment. Hey, speaking of politics, what do you make of the Cummins Dieselgate?
I was listening to your podcast about that. What you guys did a couple weeks ago on that podcast, and I ran an updated story on pickuptrucktalk.com. I think what's interesting about it is a couple things. First of all, I mean, we're dealing with Cummins here. Like, Cummins, out of all companies, knows diesel emissions. Like, they're not going to, they understand everything's going on. I think that we have experts here that are dealing with this stuff. I think it's interesting that they agreed to the fine. That was the story. They agreed to the fine. And so it's like, I want more details. Like, what did they actually agree to? And what actually happened? Because it seems ridiculous that this happened, especially because I interviewed a Ford diesel engineer, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And you look back in time, diesel emissions have been part of this country since 2005, 5, 6. I mean, people knew about this stuff. 2007, we had this happen, and then we have the DEF solution go in. It's nothing new that's been going on. And I'm just shocked by it. I would think of all the companies that could get caught like that. I mean, Cummins would. But we still don't know what the diesel defeat device was they're using. And the EPA has been historically over the last couple of years, I call them the EPA police. They have really come after people. Diesel Brothers got a big fine. You have other diesel mom and pop places got big fines. My Canadian audience just laughs because you can get diesel bleed in Canada with no problem. They don't care. But it is.
Heck, they're the sellers these days.
They're the sellers. Yeah, you just Amazon from Canada. There you go. And so my viewpoint on this too is I actually own a 2023 Chevy Silverado 1500 with a 3-liter Duramax diesel, the LZ0 in it. And I bought that for the channel for this year because I like that engine a lot. I really wanted to see what fuel economy was. I get 30 miles per gallon on that thing driving through the Colorado mountains, which is just phenomenal to talk about a full-size truck at 30 miles per gallon. You tell a guy back in 1980s his full-size truck at 30 miles per gallon, he'd think you're drunk. He'd think you're an idiot. Now you can get it.
I think there's a lot of people who don't believe that that's possible today.
I mean, I can tow 13,000 pounds if I decide to take my life in my own hands. I usually tow about 6,000, 7,000 pounds, which is what the average half-ton guy would do. And, I drive 30 miles per gallon through the mountains. And so it's like, if GM can build this engine that does this, why do we need to cheat to do something else? Like, what's the issue here? Like, I'm a little mystified by this because diesel engine technology, and I know you're good friends with Gail Banks, he would probably agree with this. Diesel engine technology has just come so far in the past 20, maybe 30 years. It's gone greatly, but 20 years gone really, really a long ways to make better. And the kids talk to me, they're like, you should just delete that truck. I'm like, I got a 5-year warranty on it. Like, I'm not deleting anything, I'm like, yeah. And it drives great. And it has a little power, 490 foot-pounds of torque. Like, what else do I need? 1,800 RPMs, 490 foot-pounds of torque. Like, I don't need anything more than that. Like, it's perfect the way it is. I need more details because something sounds more fishy. And the Ram said kind of a weird recall around at a Chrysler. It's a weird recall around. They're talking about they needed to look at the SCR systems and update the computer, and then the other one was the particular control module wasn't installed in 2021, 22, which I think you guys talked about on the podcast about there was an agreement made that they had the parts to put those trucks, so they didn't do it. And now Ram's recalling those trucks, put those parts in. So it just still sounds fishy. And I'm not sure what the Department of Justice had over the head of Cummins, because the thing that's interesting is people keep saying that EPA is fine Cummins. Well, EPA didn't find Cummins. Department of Justice made the agreement. That's who actually made the agreement with Cummins.
Right.
Because the EPA doesn't have the power to do that. So, but I tell people all the time, look, I don't think there's a truck guy that I know that doesn't want clean air. Right? We go hunting, we go fishing. I go play a lot of golf. I want clean air. I want clean water. We all want this stuff. There's no argument there. The problem that we run into is there's a price for clean air. And we all have a different number we're willing to pay. Are we willing to have emissions equipment on a diesel engine to get that clean air?
Well,
Some people are.
I would agree with you to a point. Also, I think that you're right. I always argue that us people who are overlanding and off-roaders are environmentalists. Also, we want clean air. We want a clean desert or a forest or whatever. We're all for that. But the reality is when I feel like our industry has been under attack for so long, when we have such clean vehicles now. Like, lay off us for a little while. Go after some of the other people. You know what I mean? Like, there's other dirtier
We're the
industries
easy
out
target,
there.
though. We're the easy target.
Yeah, but you could. I think you could
you
do
can
more
see them.
going
You're-
after ocean-going vessels and things like that.
Yeah, but you're on the highway every day, and you look to your left and you look to your right. That's
but
the reality.
the reality is most modern vehicles today have cleaner emissions coming out the tailpipe than they do in downtown Los Angeles.
It's so conflicting. So I do a lot of time reading these EPA government speak documents, which is, I drink a lot of coffee. Let's just say it like that. So our air quality, according to the EPA, or I think the EPA does the air quality report, is the same as what it was in 1990. And I was growing up in a time period, used to go turn on the Pittsburgh Steelers game, and you couldn't see Three River Stadium because it was all just smog, right? So our air quality today is the same as it was in 1990. The difficulty to run into is when you actually dive into the data, the transportation sector is the largest pollution out of all of the areas to look at, between coal plants, nuclear plants, and all kinds of stuff. So transportation. So you have ships and you have planes, like you talked about, right? And you have cars. Light duty trucks represent 37% of the transportation and total emissions. My challenge with that, though, is what's the 37%? Are we talking about the new trucks today? Or we're talking about trucks like I have a 62 C10 outside. That thing is a pollutant son of a bitch. I drive the hell out of it, right? But I mean, it's a 62 C10. It has no emissions on it at all. I mean, that's what it was. So my question is, the 37% that make up the light duty trucks that make up the 37% of total emissions from transportation sector, what is that? Is that a garbage truck? Is that 80s half-ton Dodge truck that's rusted out the wheel wells that's driving around? I mean, what's the number there? Because I think that, to Holman's point, that as you look at the way the market has gone, look at the emissions that's coming out, trucks have gotten to be more fuel efficient and they've gotten to be polluting less emissions. They just have over the years. And so, where are we at this point? And at some point, when is enough good enough? And I think that's the public feedback's been lately is, hey, we've done all this stuff. We have hybrids, we have electric vehicles, we have this, we're doing hydrogen stuff now, we're doing all this kind of stuff now. When are we getting the cycle that we're going to be okay with this again? Where are we going to cycle where things can calm down? And then when we look globally, because globally emissions are just a mess. Remember
look at India,
Beijing,
look at China.
Right. Remember the Beijing Olympic Games?
Yeah.
They had to close down parts of downtown Beijing from truck traffic there because they couldn't see the stadium because it had so much pollution. They actually encourage people not to drive. There's certain, my understanding is there's certain places, I think they call them provinces in China, that you can't drive a truck between certain hours a day because they pollute so much. So, I mean, and the thing is, I always laugh about because air is not U.S. air. Air is global, right? We don't own the air. The air goes from India, comes across to California, comes across different places. And the thing is, I think what's interesting with California is I've been in the ports of Los Angeles, ports of Long Beach, and those are your biggest key pollution areas in the entire country. Like entire country, entire state of California. You have more pollution there than you do anywhere else in your state. And so you look at the programs they're putting out, they're trying to do a BEV, a transport truck, or a hydrogen truck. Toyota's done stuff down there as well for your drayage trucks, so the trucks that drive between the shipping yard to the distribution center. So if we just look at just making improvement just in that one little section, we could see massive improvements to your entire state and your entire country. So my viewpoint is we don't need to have everybody. If everybody today drove an electric vehicle, we would not solve pollution.
No,
it's not going to happen. But if we take everybody, and I tell people all the time, like, if you want to improve pollution, go buy a brand new truck. And they're like, well, I want to buy a new truck. It's a gas guzzler. It does it. No. You understand. Buying a new truck today pollutes a lot less than it used to be. and has better fuel economy used to be. So if you take and turn in your 1970 sedan and buy a brand new truck, you're actually improving the environment much faster than you would be.
Yeah, because you're doing it to what?
Reducing pollution.
You're 100 cars better
Right,
than
right.
just one car better, for example.
Exactly. Then you would be by saying buy an electric vehicle, because people buy these electric vehicles and then they go park them. Well, that's terrible. Like, because you cause more pollution when you create the vehicle. So the irony with electric vehicle is you need to buy it and then drive it a lot to get any sort of CO2 reduction from when the pollution happened. And people buy EVs, they don't drive them because you can't get the range out of them because they're always charging them. They don't want to drive them very far. So it's this really irony we're in this place.
Yeah, it's sort of paradoxical.
Yeah. Tim, the problem is that the people that you're arguing with are not settling for anything less than zero.
Well,
they want zero.
because they're
want-
ideologues. They're not realists.
Right, yes.
The difference is between
Right.
the realism and ideology. And if you could get people to come in the middle and have a regular conversation, that would be solved. But that's not what happens, right?
Well, then when you say your argument about like, well, what about China and all these other countries that are polluting? They say, well, let's control what we can control, and that's the U.S. And that's as far as their argument can go. And they're going, I'm going to do everything I can within my control, and that's to make you stop driving an internal combustion engine
Well,
powered
make
vehicle.
you stop driving, period. And some of the scary stuff about over-the-air updates and software-defined vehicles is that they can shut your car off at any time. What happens if we get to a place where they say on Thursdays, all these vehicles whose VIN number ends in this, your car doesn't work today? And remotely there's a kill switch or something like that. I mean, it sounds like dystopian and it sounds like 1984 and all those kinds of things. But the reality is that's the direction we're marching.
Didn't Ford or somebody just announced, it was an article a week and a half ago about when you don't pay the payments, the car will drive itself back to the dealership?
Well, I think there's a patent or some conversation around something like that. So
I just think that, we're seeing the consumer pushback now, right? So we're seeing electric vehicle sales slumber. We're seeing the Lightning. The thing that kills me with Lightning, there's a guy in Canada who wrote this whole article. He got interviewed about how terrible Lightning was. He couldn't get home. He took his family on a road trip. He's like, people just got to do research before you buy this thing. And I'm like, well, no kidding. Like, no, you just spent $89,000 on a half-ton truck that you did not do research on, and now you're mad about it. Like, I think that that's the growth we head towards. We need more informed consumers who are making better choices based on knowledge they're gaining. I have no problem with people buying an electric vehicle. My wife, perfect candidate electric vehicle. I'd love for her to have one. She'd be fantastic with it. It just fit her lifestyle awesome. But we're not buying it to save the planet. We're buying it because there's a lot of benefits to electric vehicles people don't talk about. So she hates gas stations, and she drives to different schools during her school day.
Yep.
And electric vehicles heat up faster in the wintertime.
So
electric vehicle is a portable a space heater. And then she loves technology. It'd be a perfect fit for her. And the problem is that we went to buy one. It was $25,000 more than the little Trailblazer we bought.
all right, before we part ways with you, what is either the most exciting truck on the market for you personally right now, or what vehicle are you most excited about?
24 Tacoma?
I actually have an order in for 24 Tacoma. I'm really looking at Trail Hunter. I really saw that, and I was really excited by the Trail Hunter. I just thought it looks badass. And for my lifestyle, if I go, hunting or fishing and everything with it, I could use that truck in that realm. I think that's probably the most exciting thing on the horizon. There's nothing else out there that's been brand new that really gets me going. I'm really interested in the Hurricane engine and the Ram. I think it's a really interesting play. I'm surprised that the pushback and Luz dropping the Hemi has not been greater on the Ram.
Yeah.
When Toyota dropped it in the Tundra, my God, the outcry was just amazing.
How about the F-150
incredible.
guys when they started pushing everybody toward EcoBoost? Thankfully, they did it side by side with Coyote, so you can still get it.
Right,
but
yeah.
It took a while.
I did drive their Raptor R. I thought that's such a cool truck. There's nothing about that I don't like. That I don't like about it. The Ram TRX is a great truck too. It's sad that the Ram TRX, they cannot build enough to meet the demand. Is still going to kill it. It's just kind of weird.
Well, that's emissions related, isn't it? I mean, that's why because they can't get the truck just pollutes too much.
Stellantis doesn't build a small car. They don't have a Prius or a Chevy Bolt or whatever to offset the credits. That's their biggest problem. And Stellantis, I think a lot of companies, if you want to talk about companies that I want to watch, Stellantis is in real trouble, I think. I really have concerns about the company. It's so weird. The Jeep is not doing well. Ram's not doing well.
They made some
Chrysler's
weird
got one vehicle.
They made some weird leadership changes over there, and ever since they merged and became Stellantis with the French in charge. They don't understand the American market. I won't go into details on this particular podcast, but they are actively trying to do things that will undermine the brands here. And I hate it because I love the product. The product is great. I do agree with you. I think the RAM and the RAM charger with the extended range generator on board is really interesting. I think the fact that they use the Pentastar is really interesting. I totally understand why. Obviously, it's a volume engine. You don't have to worry about a turbocharger. It just kind of does its thing. They make a gazillion of them. There's parts everywhere. It's super reliable. It doesn't need to be a massive powerhouse, so that all makes sense. I'm excited about that one. I think that one's going to be interesting because it's a new take on something that you get all the benefits of EV, but also a lot of the infrastructure benefits of gas. So we'll see. That's one of the ones I'm excited about. But
yeah, I mean, I have a Ram Rev deposit. I have a Chevy Silverado EV deposit. I'll probably cancel both of them because we've seen I've driven EVs, they just don't work. That's far electric structure in my area. It just doesn't happen. But
yeah,
looking at the Ram Charger, I mean, the Ram, what they call the Ram Charger, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That one's very interesting to me. That one's it's very confusing how they put it out. Like, it's a plug-in hybrid. No, it's not a plug-in hybrid. No, it is this. No, it's not that. It's guys, Jesus, why do you confuse the audience even more? Like, why just call it? So it's a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or a gas engine. Done.
Yeah,
exactly. It seems confusing what they're talking about with that. But
Lexus is rebranding their hybrids in the recent ads where it's like electric for short trips, gas for long trips, and you're going, wow, that's pretty easy, right? I mean, it's easy to understand.
The manufacturers have been piss poor at explaining what a hybrid actually is.
Yeah, even my parents bought a non-plug-in hybrid CRV. They actually got two of them because they really liked it that much. My mom and dad both got them at the same time or within a few weeks. I was explaining hybrid. I didn't know that Honda didn't have a PHEV, a plug-in hybrid electric. They just had the regular non-plug-in, and so I kind of went through the whole dissertation with my mom about how our PHEV Grand Cherokee works, blah, 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 blah. Got them all jazzed up. She goes, oh, I don't know if it has a plug, and I looked, I go, oh, that's weird, it doesn't. So then I'm like, all right, cancel half the things I told you, and you still get the benefit. But anyway, it's just, consumers, even the most savvy, sometimes it takes a little bit to wrap their head around it, and I think it takes, hopefully, people like us who stay in the know to help educate.
It's confusing, and I think that's the biggest problem right now is, you, especially in a truck world, most truck guys buy a new truck every 7 years. 5 to 7 years is on average, and most times they buy one new truck their entire life. That's what happens. And so when they looked at the truck they owned in 1990 and 2000 and 2010, they come to look at a 2022 model, they're blown away. I guess we're 23 now. They're blown away. They're like, what is all this?
Yeah.
My grandfather, he bought a new EcoBoost in Denver. He's 89 years old. And he says to me, he goes, well, hey, he goes, it's so cool. He goes, I went and told him I want that V6 everybody talks about. I drove it, came back to the dealership, goes, wow, this thing's fast. And they're like, yeah, that's a twin turbo V6. He goes, oh. And then he goes,
didn't even know.
He goes, well, how do I get better fuel economy? And I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm in town driving through Denver. And I said, okay. He goes, I go as fast as I can between the stoplights because it's so fast. I'm like, okay, well then don't go as fast as you can between the stoplights. It's a small displacement V6 still. And yeah, but I had to go visit him because he had to know all the buttons, how all the buttons work. He has no idea. Every day he gets to the truck to find something new.
So he's got a VCR. He's got a VCR that's blinking 12.
Betamax.
Yeah, Betamax is blinking 12 because he can't change the time. Yeah. Well, if you want a little piece of all of Tim Esterdahl's astute observations, go to pickuptrucktalk.com. It's pickup truck and SUV talk. And plus, I can't get that.
You just can't do it right.
Let me do it again.
Try it again. So
I'm going to try it.
Tim doesn't hate us.
So it's pickup truck talk plus SUV talk. Is that what it is, or is it pickup truck plus SUV talk?
There's not talk twice.
There you go.
All right, so it's right here in the badge. Pickup truck plus SUV talk.
There you go.
Got it. But the problem is on the well, hold on a second.
Symbol make it easier. I thought plus symbol would make it easier, but it didn't.
No, it doesn't because the website is pickuptrucktalk.com.
Then go there.
God damn it.
Or YouTube.
Have you ever typed in pickup truck plus SUV talk.com? No, you don't.
No.
I know my truck guys. It's 3 words, fellas, but it's simple as good. Pickup truck talk. Just go there. You get everything else. Everything else finds it works the way out.
Well, it's funny. We were going to name it the Truck Plus SUV Show podcast, but we saw how that worked for you, and we decided not to.
I couldn't get it out of my mouth.
Smart. Very smart. Yes, I would have loved to rebrand myself back in the day. I would have done a better job. That's what it is.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for spending some time with us. And again, we appreciate the conversation you had with Mark Williams and kind of talked about what we got going on over here. And great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
What I'm about to tell you is one of the, if not the biggest announcement of my entire career.
That might be an overstatement.
So that's Dave Sparks. He is really good at marketing. Dave
Super
Sparks,
great marketer.
You're familiar with Diesel Brothers fame, and now he's got his wildly successful 3.5 million subscriber YouTube channel.
Jesus, a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people are watching Dave. So I've had some personal interactions with Dave. He's been by Banks. We built him an engine for the Brodozer. Never got into the Brodozer, but that's because COVID happened and the whole thing kind of fizzled out. But my interactions with Dave, he was a sweetheart. He was a really good guy, very genuine, really sharp. Like he would stand toe to toe with Gail. We had many conference calls with just me, Gail, Banks, and Dave Sparks. And he's a sharp dude. Like he's on it. But sometimes I think his marketing side gets the best of him a little bit. And this might be one of those times.
Yeah, I mean, basically talks about, finally announces something that I guess it's been done for a while, but he formed a company called Ember with some people, investors himself, I guess, to buy the IP for the Nikola Badger, the Wave Runner that they were working on, and then also the side-by-sides that you and I drove while we were out there. And he, it's funny, he goes through, he really does a lot of defending of Trevor, which I thought was unnecessary in the video.
We should say that this is from Dave's latest video entitled, "The Nikola Badger is Real, and I Own One."
Yeah.
You'll find that at Heavy D Sparks.
And I noticed the clickbait because he's saying in the video, oh, nobody said it was real. I have pictures of the blue truck that he's showing right there. I've shown you them. Like, we know that truck existed. We know that they built. So he goes through and says, look, these trucks were actually built. And by the way, they're beautiful. Like, they're amazing. I still think the design is every bit as fresh today as it was when we saw the renderings and the models back when we visited Nikola way back when. But obviously, Nikola doesn't want to be in that business. They're focusing on their fuel infrastructure and semi-business. And it would have taken billions and billions of dollars of investment to bring those power sports and truck products to the market. So they bowed out of that. And since then, Dave did a bunch of stuff, I guess, for Trevor. He talks about it in the video up front, but he didn't put any money into it. And so somehow had either, I don't know if it was some sort of stock in it or
that's what he explains.
Some sort of equity.
He was going to get stock.
Yeah.
He was doing this kind of all pro bono where he was lending his name, his likeness, his marketing, and then at some point he would be rewarded for stock. Yeah. If of course, Trevor Milton didn't burn him like he burned so many others.
But he's defending Trevor. Trevor's saying that he got railroaded and framed. Dave's standing up for him. But the fact of the matter is it was adjudicated in a court and he was convicted. There's a whole lot of other stuff to that story. But here's what I find interesting. Dave says several times in this video.
The stock?
Oh, this isn't financial advice. I'm not telling you to invest. But then he goes on to tell you why you should invest, essentially.
Yeah.
And when you dig into it a little bit deeper, it's interesting because Trevor, back from the grave, who has zero day-to-day input to the company, but apparently still owns a lot of outstanding shares, or maybe not outstanding, but owns a lot of shares in Nikola, has some sort of voting or ability to affect the board. And so he put together a list of, I think, 5 of his cronies or people that he wanted on the Nikola board, because it sounds like they're trying to plot like some sort of Nikola takeover of the current company. And so Dave is basically saying, well, I've been nominated for the board, and I'm not on it yet, but if it goes through. So I did a little bit of digging, because I'm like, well, that's a weird thing to say, and I bought this IP from this company, and I want to bring it to market. That's great. Awesome. Oh, but here's not financial advice. Oh, and I've been nominated for the board. And he starts weaving this corporate details into this kind of video that, to me, should have been a clap back to people who doubted Badger. But instead, it became like a little less than that, because it became more about the conditions.
So let's set the stage of the video. He is in his Utah hangar on an airstrip somewhere, and you see his helicopter on one side. He's flanked by a blue and a white Nikola Badger. To his left, to your right, you'll see a couple of side-by-sides that are electric side-by-sides. And behind him, he's got two of the Wave Runners that you and I saw.
Right.
All of the stuff that is on camera is awesome.
So that video was put out on the 18th. And as I dug a little bit deeper, I found this press release from February 9th from Nikola. And as you guys know, have been following the show for a long time, we got swept into the whole Nikola controversy because right before the IPO, Trevor was amazing, had Lightning and I out to their facility in Arizona.
First, we did almost a 45-minute interview with him on the show.
And with Dave Sparks. We've had him on the show,
and
too.
So that was on the show. And then we went to Nikola in Phoenix.
And got an incredible tour of this place because they used that saying, oh, here's these guys from this podcast, our IPO. They're telling you that it's not snake oil. And then the Hindenburg stuff hit, which Dave alludes to in the video. So anyway, long story short, I feel like this is a really cringy video of Dave trying to build consensus around him being on the board and also around potential future investments. But legally, he has to say this is not investment advice, right?
When you guys hear, you're going to see press releases, you're going to see stuff in the news talking about me being nominated for the board. That's the reason why. With that said, none of this is investing advice. I'm not telling you to buy shares. Do not make any financial decisions based off of what I'm telling you today, simply because all I'm doing is getting you guys caught up on a project that we've been working on for a really long time.
And I don't feel like that's all he's doing, right? I think he could have been like, guys, you all doubted me. I did invest in Badger. In fact, I bought the IP, and we're going to take this. Instead, it was like, yeah, we did that. Truck's real. This one here, I'll give you a little bit of background. By the way, I've been nominated for the board. So on February 9th, Nikola puts out a press release that says, Nikola rejects slate of directors nominated by Trevor Milton for election to Nikola board of directors.
So what does that mean? Let's break that down.
So Milton, former executive chair, criminally convicted and sentenced to 48 months in prison, is the subhead of this press release. And so it goes through and it says, on January 26, 2024, Nikola received a notice from M&M Residual LLC, Mr. Milton's entity, declaring its intent to nominate a slate of 5 directors for its 8-member board. So if that doesn't sound like a takeover, I don't know what does. Cole Cannon, who Dave mentions in the video, who was instrumental in negotiating the Badger IP and the Power Sports purchase, Derek Johnson, Hans Peterson, Paul Southam, and Dave Sparks. And some of those names, if you've been following the odyssey of this, have come up in other places. I'll let you do your own research on it. It's just interesting. The only reason I bring this up is because this show in particular, and Lightning and I, have a little tiny footnote, and I feel like we owe it to you when we see something to kind of like be, hey, this is our take on it. The press release goes on to say, the board of directors reviewed the director nominees and rejected the slate and does not endorse their nomination. The director nominees have no public company experience, add no skills or experience to the board, and indisputably lack the depth of experience that current Nikola board members bring to the company. Additionally, it's the company's belief that the director nominees lack the expertise or knowledge needed to navigate the complexities of a zero-emissions trucking and energy infrastructure business. So a few things I pull out of that is they reject everybody. And their current vision is zero emissions trucking and energy, not power sports and trucks. And they specifically put that in there because they're telling their investors and they're telling, Milton's people, we're not going that direction. So your people don't matter because that's not the direction we're going. And then they go on to say, Mr. Milton was criminally convicted of 1 count of securities fraud and 2 counts of wire fraud as it relates to the company. And on December 18th, 2023, was sentenced to 48 months in prison, followed by a supervised release for 3 years. On October 20th, 2023, Mr. Milton was found liable in an arbitration with the company, resulting in an award to the company of $165 million plus interest, which includes a $125 million settlement with the Security and Exchange Commissions from December 2021. This judgment remains unpaid, and Nikola is vigorously seeking all legal avenues to recover monies owed to the company by Mr. Milton. Mr. Milton is separated from the company entirely and has had zero involvement in Nikola's day-to-day operations since September of 2020. However, Nikola continues to suffer harm created by Mr. Milton's business decisions from over 3 years ago in his role as founder and executive chairman. Then they go through and name all the people currently on the board and what each of their expertise are. So to me, it's a drama. There's popcorn involved. It feels like,
they're like, look, the guy did bad things and we want nothing to do with him. Meanwhile, you have Trevor and Dave who are buddy-buddy, and they're trying to retake over this company or have some influence on it.
And then they have this other entity called Ember, which is apparently going to try and bring this from the ashes. Personally, and I've had a lot of you reach out to me, Holman, what do you think? This is my own opinion. This is just my gut feeling. It'll never happen. And if Dave wants to call me a hater, And prove me wrong, I hope he does, because the Badger was an exceptional idea and a beautifully styled pickup with a ton of capability, as imagined when we saw it years ago.
I would have, you and I both would have put money down on this truck.
I would have bought that truck. They're pushing into hydrogen, which Shell just announced they're closing all their California hydrogen stations. That infrastructure is starting to fade. I do think hydrogen fuel cell is a better choice for a pickup truck than a full battery electric pickup truck. Whatever. But that truck, based on the capabilities that we were told about, the design, the style, and the things that we saw when we were there, I would have been a customer of that. I was like, yeah, this is rad. I think this is really cool.
So let me ask you this. What do you think Dave Sparks hopes to achieve, not from this video, but overall? It looks to me like, so he bought the two Badgers.
Yeah.
Great. They're just
and all the
prototypes.
IP that goes with them.
And all the IP that goes, that's all great. But listen, he doesn't have a software and engineering team working with him.
Right. He's talking about software updates that some of them are requiring, and I don't know.
It's like the heated seats don't work. The stereo doesn't work. All this, it's like they're never going to work because Nikola is out of it. They don't want anything to do with this anymore.
Well, that's as far as we know. Who knows? Maybe there's some back channel stuff.
According to that press release.
The press release says they're out. But according to Dave, it says they're a minority in this. Who knows? I hope...
Drama!
I hope Dave proves me wrong, and I hope he goes, Sean Holman from the Truck Show Podcast is a hater. And by the way, here's a Nikola, and you're on the blacklist, and you can never own one. That would be wonderful for me, because I'd be like, oh, Red, you had to come to market.
It'd be great for me, because I'd buy one.
Because you would buy one, and I wouldn't be able to have one, because Dave's mad at me or something. But in some of my past conversations around this, I can tell you the investment that was estimated to be required to do all three of those vehicles, the side-by-side, the Wave Runner, and the Badger.
Had to be over $1 billion, right?
Multi-billion-dollar investment. You have to have a huge investment pool. You have to sign people up. So maybe that's what he's hoping to get with this, is to get some other companies to sign in. But the reality is, you're Elon Musk. You're already a billionaire, and it took a long time to make a decent car. Then you got Lucid, which is an American company backed by huge Saudi money. And then you've got Rivian, which was losing a few months ago, $14,000 per unit. And that's not even mentioning all the ones that have gone away, like Lordstown and all these other ones. The reality is it's incredibly hard to make a vehicle in this regulatory and manufacturing and logistical environment. So
again, I'm asking you, what can he possibly, even if he wants to take over the board, like he wants to get his Dave Sparks and all the Trevor Milton guys, they take over the board, and then what do? Then they finally get the Badger to market?
I guess.
Interesting.
I guess. Or they're trying to look for somebody to invest in Ember to bring Badger to market so they go make money off that.
I see.
As a non-Nikola product. I don't know. I'm telling you I don't know. But I will...
Do I reach out? Would you talk to Dave?
Yeah, I would talk to Dave.
Okay.
But I don't... I hope he figures it out, but that's a tall hill to climb.
It's a heavy lift, yes.
Yeah. To me, one of those things that I just felt like when I saw the video, I cringed a few times. It was like I really wanted him to delve deep into the Badger and not try and sell me on this future vision of Nikola 3.0.
He didn't give us a tour of the Badger. He didn't walk us through it. He kind of just, he says, look, the door's open.
Right, and he said he was going to.
There was one piece of video that they kept showing over and over again of him driving it and it pulling the trailer, but it was on one piece of highway, and he goes, and we didn't push this down a road. So
like the semi was.
Like the semi was rolling downhill. So he was trying to tell us that it's real and it works, and that's fine, great, but it was only one piece of video, like on one road.
Yeah.
Even that was a little suspect.
They did, I'm sure, for marketing B-roll, because it was going to be at the big Nikola Expo that was coming up, and that was where it was going to be
you think this
unveiled.
video was shot a long time ago?
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe it was.
Because Dave was behind the wheel.
But he was involved back then, too.
Yeah, he was.
So who knows?
Oh.
So I don't know. All I know is that the Badger was real. I never doubted it because I saw the blue one. I have pictures of the blue one. And so I just thought that was funny and clickbaity because a prototype exists. Two obviously existed. And I think it's cool that Dave bought all the IP. I don't think it's cool that I was watching a sales pitch for a timeshare coming up or something like that. And I kept waiting for the close. And
I wonder how many people understand what's actually going on.
I don't know. I just think
there's no way that the average person is following it as closely as we are.
No. And even we are kind of not following it that close. I just think it's crazy, like the drama, the corporate drama of what happened, where we were at, and then Hindenburg comes out, Trevor gets booted, then he gets busted by the security exchange, and and is found guilty, and then GM comes on board, and GM steps out, and then they leave some people behind, and they're like, we're going to go hard into trucking and hydrogen now, and then the old ghost of Trevor Milton and his cronies like reappeared. Oh, we're gonna try and take over the board. Like, it's crazy. It's a crazy story.
It's a crazy story.
And if you read the history of Trevor, whether you believe it or not, like, go just read. Just read. You could spend a day reading the history. You can listen to some of our older podcasts.
That Wall Street
the Wall Street Journal that quoted us.
Yeah, the podcast
used our audio.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was creepy.
Because
and
we
cool.
I guess we were one of the few outlets that had that much of a deep discussion. We said at the time, Trevor was incredibly gracious and open with us. Like, he told us all sorts of stuff. We walked away going, dude, I can't believe that just happened, right? So I feel like we have a little bit of entitlement to have at least an opinion on everything. Yeah. And so this is what we think. It's just an interesting footnote. Thanks for everybody who sent us the video. Dave, honestly, dude, I wish you the best of luck on getting that thing off the ground.
We'll buy them.
I think
if you get it to market.
But the palace intrigue of Nikola is probably going to be what drives the story more than the product in the coming years.
Speaking of the Badger specifically, my favorite comment on this video: Whistling Diesel 500-point inspection video coming soon. All right, so we realize that this is the world's longest truck show podcast episode. Let's get into truck news and we'll do it.
No. World's longest of 2024.
Oh, is that it?
Probably.
What's new in trucks? We need to know. What's new in trucks? We need to know. What's new in trucks? We need to know.
Lifted, lowered, and everything in between. What's happening in the world of trucks?
Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
No.
All right, speaking of electric trucks that aren't Teslas or Badgers.
Rivian?
Nope.
What else is there?
Well, Scout, which is the Volkswagen electric vehicle company. So I have a couple people I know have been hired over there recently, and there's been some stuff popping up on how they broke ground on a new U.S. facility where it plans to build all the off-road trucks. They're going to be electric trucks. But what's really interesting, they're doing it in South Carolina. What I found really interesting is they're treating it like a startup, like its own entity, its own company. And they really want to go after the adventure space and off-road space even harder than, say, a Rivian is. And I find it super interesting. And then they also, some stuff is starting to leak out how they want their trucks to have, get this, actual physical buttons. So apparently...
Good on Volkswagen for having physical buttons.
Scout.
It's
Chief designer Chris Benjamin was quoting as saying, "Manual is important. We want to make sure that the things you use every day are not buried somewhere in the screen. Easy, functional, tactile, all super important." And he added, "Scout was a machine that always worked. We want to make sure the new one always works too." I love that.
That's great.
Because I have been in a lot of modern cars. Land Rover.
You okay?
Where,
let me give you a
Defender.
pat on the back.
Where all of the controls for off-roading and things are buried in the screen. And when your screen goes dark, you can no longer control many functions of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. And some of those brands that do that. I think I'm still blackballed by them, by the way.
Land Rover?
Yeah, they haven't called me in years after I kind of like made fun of their...
Or what you said just now?
Oh, no, that's nothing compared
that was nothing.
No,
oh, really?
What I said in print, they were not happy with.
Look, here's the deal. If you want a real opinion, look no further than Sean Holman.
Did I ever read that little excerpt for you?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do recall. It was pretty scathing.
But only that part of it.
Yeah, but well, listen, that's the part they read.
Talking about designers with little tiny pointy shoes.
It was a great review, and you were proud of that one, actually.
Yeah, I still am, and it got me.
I have
a
feeling. You know what they did is they put that they tore it out of the magazine, right, and they put it on their copy machine, and they said enlarge by 200%, and then they took that one out of the printer, and they put that one and said enlarge by 200%. So by the time they were done, it was 800% larger. So it's just that little paragraph, and that's what they hung on the door to the CEO's office right there.
And they said, "Buy Sean Holman on it. Don't ever invite him back
Exactly.
to another program." I'll leave it alone. Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
No.
The Rivian R2 is going to be launching on March 7th. So that's the new smaller Rivian that's going to be more affordable and
What's up with the
very capable.
SUVs? I've seen so many of them lately. Like
they
just popping up everywhere.
Because
now.
they're finally up to production speed on them. So all the people got the trucks first, and the SUV came later, and now I think people are finally starting to get theirs.
They're attractive. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no, they're good. It's just like the Hummer, though. Less range because the shorter wheelbase, less batteries, all that kind of stuff. Gotcha. I think the truck is really good. I think the SUV feels a little bit of a compromise to me. So Rivian CEO says to expect the R2 to be somewhere around $45,000-$50,000. So that's
that little?
A lot more in the mainstream. And
that seems too low.
And with all the brand equity that they've been building lately, I don't think it'll be good. They're calling it their own Model 3 moment, which is kind of interesting because I think that's going to be the vehicle that kind of puts them over. But we all know mass producing EVs is hard, and supply chain and costs and inflation, and good luck with that, Rivian. I like what you got going on, but yeah, good luck. Also, going back to Scout, I forgot to say, they're also talking about having a fold-down windshield, just like the original.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is cool, just like the Wrangler has, right? So anyway, they are really trying to go after authenticity there. Hey, Lightning, did you hear?
Nope.
Staying on the topic of electrification.
Do we have to?
No, but this one will piss you off.
Okay, all right. Then I do want to hear it. Yes.
Biden is open to electrifying the Beast limo, according to Autoblog.
No.
Yeah, apparently he's been talking about that, and that's a dumb idea.
Has he been talking about it on TikTok?
I saw that too. just leave it alone.
Okay.
I think people know.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
All right.
You can't have it, but I'm going to be there, right? Yeah, we'll just leave it.
You can't do this. I'm doing it.
I'm going to do it. Yeah.
I'll do it for you.
Yeah, I'll just leave it alone. Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
Nope.
TRX is the most stolen pickup truck in Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the number 2. It was one short of the leader.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what happened?
I set him back. I wonder, so there aren't that many TRXs made. What are they making, like 15,000 a year or something like that? So
probably less than that.
I would say per capita, it's got to be one of the most stolen. But like overall, no, it's a drop in the bucket compared to like, I don't know, a Kia or
yeah, but it's still a Ram 1500 though. So, I mean, it would go into that bucket of stolen vehicles.
You make a great point, yes.
Hey, funny Cybertruck news, because why not? Because it's just the world is all about electric stuff.
Just pour it on.
Did you see that some of them are rusting now?
I did see that. So did they use 316, 316L? What did they use? So it's 3 Series.
Yeah. So I have seen, so there are a couple things. I've seen a few people surmise what's going on. And one of the things was that it's the rail dust that is hitting and embedding itself in the stainless steel. And then the rail dust is actually what's rusting.
Rail dust from the train
transportation.
Got it. Oh, because it's iron. Because the iron that rusts. Oh, man.
Because people have been saying they're easy to remove those rusty specks with clay bars and things like that. So if it was real corrosion, like on the cheap stainless steel on my Weber barbecue, on the side panels, it would pit, and then you can't do anything about that.
Because, I mean, you guys know there's so many grades of stainless steel.
So many.
Like in your exhaust pipes, they can be 409 stainless, which lasts a couple years and then starts to get brown and then rusty. And then there's 3 Series, 304, 316, stuff like that. Then there's all the medical grade, which it's really hard to rust. And then you can even electroplate them, which they probably should have done.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
No, we have no idea what.
Maybe they do that. I don't know.
No, then it would be shinier if you electroplate them.
I don't know. All I know is that there's.
Not electroplate, electropolish. Sorry for clarity, electropolish.
Tesla does say that owners should immediately remove potentially corrosive substances like road salt or industrial fallout, which iron particles would be industrial fallout. So
yeah.
Maybe that's it. So anyway.
But this is not like the undercarriage of your truck. Like all the guys, like at Banks, we deal with the guys that they'll buy a 409 stainless exhaust. And that's what the automotive brands use. But if they're in like Minnesota and they salt the roads heavily every winter, it just eats.
Well, smart people have a garage with a drain, and then they just have like a sprinkler system in their garage.
Or you Cerakote your pipe or powder coat it, and then it'll last way, way longer.
Yeah. Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
No, I have not. Negative.
Ford did a solid, and that was to replace a U.S. Marines F-150 Raptor with a brand new Raptor R.
Why? What happened?
So apparently, Sergeant Tyler Vargas Andrews from the Marine Corps, He had served as recently as Afghanistan, assisting with the Kabul evacuations. When he got back, his present to himself, a 2023 Ford F-150 Raptor non-R. So this would have been the twin turbocharged EcoBoost with 450 horse and 510 pound-feet of torque. Well, a few months ago, he was driving. He had taken several cross-country trips. They went from Virginia to California, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, off-roaded all over, and it was his pride and joy.
This is not Banana Ron you're talking about now, right? Remember Banana Ron?
No, this is a completely different story.
Okay.
And anyway, he enjoyed his Raptor for about 5 months until a car crashed into the back of the truck and totaled it. And here's the photos. So he got hit pretty darn hard.
Dang, it twisted the frame.
Oh, yeah. And
the bed is off the chassis.
The axle's broken off its mounts. So he said he was stopped in his traffic on an interstate in Virginia on Thanksgiving Day, and a speeding black SUV did not stop in time and actually pushed the Raptor through multiple lanes of traffic after spinning it. So, according to state troopers, the SUV driver got charged with reckless negligent driving, and he was out a vehicle. So he posted about it on his own Instagram at Whistling Death. He tagged Ford and Ford Performance and a bunch of commenters, right? I mean, everybody in the monster jumping in. And they said, hey, we're tagging the company too. Anyway, Mike Levine, who's the North American Product Communications Director, passed the story up. And Bill Ford decided that he was going to gift him a brand new Raptor R for his trouble.
That is so cool.
So
wow, good on Ford.
So now Sergeant Vargas Andrews got to choose the Raptor of his dream, and the 26-year-old picked out a brand new Raptor R. So that's the 2024 model with 720 horse.
Wow.
Which is a 270 horsepower upgrade from his previous truck.
Again, good on Ford for that move.
And if that wasn't enough, you got to take a personalized behind-the-scenes tour of the Dearborn plant where those trucks are made. And he got to meet Bill Ford himself, Ford CEO Jim Farley, and then a lot of the employees who were building F-150s. So It's pretty rad. So you know what, Ford, good on you guys.
Yeah, I love when they give back to armed services. By the way, we do that at banks quite a bit too. There's hey, you guys have military discounts? Absolutely. First responders, we take great care of first responders.
Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
Oh, no. No, nope.
I have some exciting news for Toyota fans out there everywhere.
Yes, bring it on. It's just about the Tacoma.
Official, the 2025 Toyota 4Runner has finally been spied out in the wild.
I have heard it looks amazing, and I have not seen it. A lot of people are excited about the 4Runner.
Yep. So anyway, it's there's a bunch of renderings for it on 4runner6g.com and some photos. You can also find some photos on the drive. Anyway, super cool to finally hear, because I think everybody was worried that it's supposed to have the same powertrain as the Land Cruiser, and the Land Cruiser is probably a notch bigger. So where does the 4Runner fit in the family now that Land Cruiser is not off the Land Cruiser chassis, but off the exact same chassis that's shared with everything else rear-wheel drive, from Sequoia to Tundra to Tacoma, Lexus GX, all of those things.
Why don't we get someone on the phone to ask them?
So they haven't announced. Nobody knows where it fits in yet. They're not. Information is not officially out there yet.
I get that, but let's line up an interview.
Well, we had Sheldon Brown on here
But that was Tacoma.
You think that he doesn't know what's going on with 4Runner?
But we just had him on. You want to have Sheldon on like 2 weeks later?
No. My point is,
Sheldon, can we get you on?
They're not going to tell us. It's not public yet.
I understand
You
that.
don't have the connections.
No, I'm not saying today. I'm saying that
after they put out the press release and say where it fits in the lineup, then we can have somebody?
Just to verify, yes.
Okay.
We read on the... Yeah.
Very odd.
All right.
I don't know.
I realize that's a dumb idea. I rescind everything I've said.
I know. I'm trying to understand. You're saying...
I just want someone to come on and break the news in person.
Are we going to fly them out from Texas?
I don't mean in person. I mean like over the phone.
Got it.
Telephony.
Right.
Voice.
Jesus. All right. So anyway, 4Runner coming. How about that? You just say that 4Runner's coming, and it'll be interesting to see where it fits in. Is it the 3-row variant, basically, whereas Land Cruiser is 2 rows? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? Is it the same size as the Tacoma? It's smaller than Sequoia. Toyota is going to have a target-rich truck product lineup here in the next 12 months or so.
Target-rich?
Yeah, there's just going to be... It's like, listen to all the things that are on that platform. You've got the Tundra. You've got the Sequoia. You got the GX. You got the Land Cruiser. You got the Tacoma. And now you have the 4Runner.
Wow.
All like mid-size and full-size.
Huh.
Oh, you got the full size Lexus Land Cruiser too.
Talk about scale.
They're like, we got one platform. Which way do you like it?
Yeah.
So some companies have one vehicle and they have 47 trims. Toyota's like, yeah, we're gonna have 47 vehicles.
You know what this reminds me of is the Ford F-53 motorhome chassis. It's the. Well,
I've always wanted to drive one of those before the body gets put on.
That
it.
would be fun.
That was seriously is like on my bucket list.
But like every motorhome that is gas engine in front, which is the new Ford 7.3 right now, but even back to the V10s, if you go to any Winnebago, any Thor, whatever, they're all on Ford F-53 chassis.
Yep.
Like all of them. Every
them.
single one of them. There is no other chassis that I'm aware of. And yet they just, so every style motorhome, wherever you buy your motorhome, it's on an F-53 chassis. It reminds me of this. That was it.
Okay. And that's also going to end this episode of the Truck Show podcast on that riveting final comment from our man Lightning.
Yeah, sorry. I'm still a little shaken on my TRX episode.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show.
All right, we want to hear from you guys. If you have any advice for how Lightning can keep his TRX in his driveway, whether it's anchors for the tires, or maybe he removes his wheels every night, or puts it up on jack stands to foil anybody going into gear, or...
I have heard that, well, first of all, Rich Holdaway from Holdaway Construction called and he says, hey, I'm down to build you a new garage so you can actually pull into your garage. I said, the plot of land that my house sits on, it wouldn't even work.
Unless he makes you a high garage, you can put a like a 2x, parking... lift.
Lift?
Do the lift. You drive it on the bottom.
Dude, I heard about a guy with a TRX. His wife had a Jeep parked in front of it, and they had one of those gates that are on tracks.
Yeah.
And they broke the gate open, slid it, moved the Jeep out of the way, and then stole the TRX.
Yeah.
They'll just move stuff around, juggle your own cars.
That's crazy.
Just to get the truck.
My family doesn't even move cars out of the driveway when I need to get my 392 out of the garage.
So, man.
That's quite the service.
But I did think about this. This might crack you up. I thought about putting a huge steel stud into the cement, and then putting one of those Avis locks through my my HRE wheel.
Right, and just ruin all of it.
It would destroy the wheel, but they would basically back up. It would coil. It would destroy the suspension and the wheel.
Oh, jeez.
But at least they wouldn't get it.
God, that's.
Can you imagine what a mangled mess that would be?
Gratuitous truck death.
I'm going to go see them later tonight at the Palladium.
I hate that. So Rich Holdaway is, he's already done us a solid on the podcast studio. He's not done yet? He's not done working with us?
No. He offered to build me a garage. He's like, I'll take it from a single car to a dual car garage. I go, I don't have enough land.
I wonder if he would help me build something on my land.
The family plot.
Yeah. Might need a little place up there.
Some.
Yeah. Rich. Rich. Anyway, all right. If you guys want to tell Lightning how to save his truck and keep it in his own clammy hands, then you want to reach out to the Truck Show Podcast. truckshowpodcast@gmail.com, lightning@truckshowpodcast.com, or holman@truckshowpodcast.com. Save those Holman that email for you guys who secretly just want to bathe in Lightning's misfortune. We don't want to hurt his feelings, so just send those ones to me. You can also follow us on social at Truck Show Podcast, at LBC Lightning, at Sean P. Holman, or give us a call on the 5-star hotline 657-205-6105. We want to hear from you.
You're making me feel like there's a constituency in our audience that would like to see my truck have been stolen.
And if you were the listener that stole or attempted to steal Lightning's TRX, reveal yourself in an email. We want to know why. And also what your feelings were when it didn't work.
What if they stole it from my house and brought it to yours?
Oh, that would be kind of funny, actually.
Don't
say that on the air. Somebody will try and do that.
No.
They'll know some dude who's lifting, and they're going to be like, dude, I need you to steal a TRX. He goes, I'm busy. No. I don't need you to keep it or get rid of it. Just move it to somebody else's house.
See, we can have this discussion now because it didn't get stolen.
Right.
I don't know if I would be sitting in the studio right now if it had been actually stolen. I would have been devastated.
I would have to have done this podcast by myself.
You would have had to come to my house and
interview you on the floor in a ball.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sad. So this isn't the part of the show where we should ask for reviews.
No.
Okay, so don't
Save
ask
that for another day.
reviews. And don't forget to send us your events. Head over to truckshowpodcast.com where you can check out all of the awesome events that we have going on. And that event calendar is stacked thanks to Lightning. So, all right, and don't forget that we also have a lot of discounts going up on truckshowpodcast.com on the featured products page. And so we're adding stuff all the time. And Lightning, I believe our friends over at EGR are the latest entry into the things that you can get discounts on through the Truck Show Podcast.
That's correct. If you want to save money on EGR roll track tonneau covers, on fender flares, or their new side lights for Jeeps, which are super sick, just head over to our page. You basically buy the product, and then you use our code, and you fill out a form, and they send you a rebate back. So up to $100 you can save. So head on over to the featured products page on truckshowpodcast.com to find your EGR products.
Know your notes. Send those to us. OVR Mag. If you want to get a free year-long subscription, head to overrmag.com, go to the subscription tag, and the code is at Truck Show Podcast.
And while you're shopping online, head over to nissanusa.com to build and price the Nissan Titan or Frontier of your dreams.
And if your dreams have turned into nightmares recently because of high EGTs, one of the ways to combat that is with Banks' line of quality upgraded intercoolers. So if you're looking for a new intercooler, all metal construction for your vehicle, just head on over to bankspower.com where you can use the year, make, and model tool to figure out which application is available for your truck.
Hey guys, it's Miles, your producer here.
Hey,
I was
Miles.
going to pick up a TRX at a sweet price, but the dude that was going to hook me up said he's out of stock. He's waiting for a fresh delivery.
I wonder what he's waiting on. Could it be that rear window replacement?
Yeah, that's not cool. The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.